Fantastic. I think, Nathan, to kickstart, bro, I mean, it just makes sense. You have to give us a bit of a backstory to this whole thing and how this project came about, because, I mean, I did a little bit of research on it. And I mean, it's certainly a layered backup power system, which clearly hasn't been done here before, or in Africa. I imagine it's been done elsewhere. But I'm just curious to know why the complexity of such a backup power system when others just generally just go for,
one or the other.
Yeah, one or the other kind of thing. So explain, sir.
So you are quite right in making the statement that it's one of a kind. We have done the research. It is the first in South Africa.
Right.
Further research has shown that it's the first in Africa. And we are currently doing further research to see if on this level it's the first in the world. It is an arbitrage project against government institutions that govern the price of our consumption.
Right.
In this case, every South African citizen knows what Eskom has done with the prices lately, and everyone is just to be straight about it. We have seen recently the first of the increases that are going to happen in the next 12 months. Their target is 40%, and NERSA has approved it in increments of 18% roughly. So the whole idea there is to be able to have a backup solution for power that under no circumstances are we reliant on any one of the state-owned enterprises. And that is the diesel market, the natural gas market, and the electricity market. So the hybrid of this project is initially you've got your Eskom supply and their tariffs are their tariffs. Because it's a commercial property and not residential, you've got 3 different tariffs that happen. Your peak, off-peak, and your middle consumption brackets. So the idea is then to use the off-peak bracket to charge the batteries, and then during the peak time, use the battery storage energy to run the mall. Okay. So that arbitrages against the high prices, and we anticipate saving the mall in an excess of 1.5 million rand. I'll get those figures later for you.
1.5 per month?
Per month.
Per month?
Per month.
Wow.
Okay. The second thing is that when our fantastic load shedding kicks in, we have to run on generator, because then there's really no supply from Eskom or on the battery backup, because they will deplete.
Right.
So then we can run our generators. But that's where we kick in the next state-owned enterprises, the diesel prices. Because it's a commercial property, it's not just an account that you have at Caltex, it's direct from the state-owned enterprises. And that's where you're going to be getting your 20,000 litres, 40,000 litres at a time. So that is then again governed by the government, the prices thereof. So we arbitrage against them. We do a biofuel conversion on the generator that ignites on diesel and switches over to natural gas.
Okay.
So we're arbitraging 2 of the state-owned enterprises in one fell sweep. So if Igoli is cheaper than diesel, we run it on diesel. If it's diesel the other way around, then we run it on gas, natural gas. Okay. Also, the availability of the fuel. We've seen in recent times, shortly just after COVID, I believe it was 2021, 2022, where there was a massive shortage on both natural gas. There were warning signs. We couldn't import from Mozambique, so we've got to have a fail-safe on that. Diesel. We are not producing diesel quick enough either, and Sasol is failing at that point. And I believe that is also to a certain level state-owned, half private, half state-owned.
Yeah.
Then we kick in the last, which is currently for free, but our government wants their finger in the pie. The mall currently has 1.3 megawatts of solar on the roof as we speak. And that's trickling through a specific system of inverters, which have got localized batteries, but now they're going to centralize the battery.
Okay.
And that is the system. So out of a 2.8 million rand a month electricity bill, we can save them 1.5 million. It should be a bit more than that.
Yes.
And there's a whole handful of government officials that do not like it.
Are you getting feedback on that? I mean, are they...
We are going to monitor it over the next 12 months.
Okay.
And from what I understand, and perhaps this can be left out of it, if a company is registered on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, they've got pulling power at that level.
Right.
And I think that is what has been the tipping scale on this one. It's not a small company. It's a company with pulling power, international pulling power.
Yes, yeah.
And so I don't think the government really has a choice in this one. we're doing it, and we're doing it.
Yeah. But I mean, government interference, to what extent or what potential extent would there be when companies such as Hyprop, JSE listed, are actually showing innovation and actually trying to do something to help the greater cause?
Correct.
Yes.
Because if they're taking their facilities off the grid, or they are assisting grid, then surely that energy availability goes back to the rest of the citizens and the rest of the commercial industries, the factories, the manufacturing, which normally are the cases where they are tipping the grid out because it's megawatt factories, car manufacturers and the likes thereof. So if the system does work, it's going to be rolled out not just through the retail sectors. We are then going to take it over to commercial properties,
right?
Especially manufacturing. And we've got one of the largest footprints in manufacturing in sub-Saharan Africa.
No, exactly. I mean, you just think of manufacturing and you think how much power manufacturing requires.
Just imagine ArcelorMittal takes on a case study like this and says, okay, we didn't have the money to put down and say, we'll be the guinea pig.
Yeah.
A company like Hyprop might have. And so far, so good. And if the system works, then we can go and prove to the likes of ArcelorMittal and say, it works. Now let's see what we can do to
on
the
a
system.
on
a much larger scale.
Huge.
Massive.
Okay.
This is the pilot project.
Okay.
If this one works,
yes,
then Hyprop are rolling out on 8 of their other facilities.
Right. So you could go Canal Walk, you could go to a whole bunch
Absolutely.
of others as well.
Canal Walk will be number 3. Number 2 is going to be Hyde Park Corner across the road.
Okay.
It's already been sort of staged which ones are next.
Is this now operational, Nathan?
Not yet.
Not yet.
The batteries have gone through their cold commissioning cycle and all the tests passed. So we are now starting with the hot commissioning cycle, which means we go live. The batteries have gone live, and as of Sunday afternoon, yesterday, I think we're at 100% charge and we had 0 grid impact. And the grid impact study which we did was the trickle charge over 72 hours instead of full whack, because then the grid would have dipped. The lights at the hotel next door would have dipped.
No, of course. Okay.
You're just taking 5 megawatts.
So how did you arrive at 5 megawatts? Why was that the critical amount that was required?
It wasn't only me that engineered this. There is no single person in the world that single-handedly can design, engineer, and have this level of ingenuity. It was more a group of people that came together and said, but what if? And do you think it's possible? And the theory was put to theory. And so now we're putting that theory to the test in practicality. We have had an immense amount of challenges. Design in theory was design in theory.
Exactly.
And then when we broke ground and saw, but we haven't thought of this, and these are the challenges that we encountered on site. And that's when the project was live. We're in this thing and we started. Now let's see it to the end. And it was challenge after challenge, weekly challenges that we had to overcome. It was exciting to see that a whole bunch of engineers, there's the civil structural engineers that came on board and said, okay, let's look at everything. The electrical engineers that came on board, the fire engineers, the fire chief from Rosebank became on board and just as excited as the rest of us. And so they came and gave their 6 eggs. We had the architects that said, well, okay, it looks like a lithium bomb, so we might need to protect it a little bit. And then that's where that comes in.
Yes.
And so myself and the civil engineer were working very close together at one point. And then we ended up with, this is it. It's go time.
And the period of time from beginning to where you are now?
So the design, we only allowed about 5 months in the beginning. Personally, I think we could have extended that a little bit. It would have helped the project get a few other niggly bits out the way first.
Okay.
However, in hindsight, we started at the right time, because even if we got the design 100% and we were like, this is it and this is what we're going to build, we would have still had the construction challenges that we had and that we encountered. Only after exposing through demolition and preparation of the area, we exposed the rest of the problems. And then each engineer had their say and say, okay, well, this is a problem and this is how we overcome it.
Right.
These are those challenges and this is how we overcome those.
Right.
Where the whole BIM thing ties in, I've thus far quantified it, and so far, by using all the BIM tools, we anticipate that we've saved the project in and around the 4.8 million rand in mistakes. Just by having a digital twin that you can make a mistake digitally before you make a mistake physically.
Yes, yes. And I think this is where Michael comes in, because you've clearly used BIM before on your other projects. Okay, and so you're pretty used to the tech and what is required.
Yes.
Okay, so Michael, on your side, I mean, what was the challenges that you guys had to face in terms of the technology and the software to make something unique and different? What Nathan has now put together actually work seamlessly and help this gentleman do what he has to do.
I think it comes down to Nathan, excuse me, basically being an expert in the tools, utilizing the Autodesk construction tools, as well as the other authoring tools that Autodesk do offer, Revit, AutoCAD, Navisworks.
Yes.
I think that's where, Nathan does press and push boundaries in terms of what his design team do,
Right.
as well as his construction team actually understanding how those coordinated deliverables work in the real world. And that's where the important part of the digital twin comes into it,
Yes.
actually taking that realistic model and design and that, call it concept, and actually bringing it into real life. And that's what they've been able to do quite successfully. And I think it's quite exciting with the project of this magnitude and scale that Nathan's basically running, and all the work that's gone into it and the overtime from all the different stakeholders. I think that's why Hyprop is looking at this as excuse me, as a massive project that potentially is going to open the doors to something fantastic.
Yeah.
Globally, potentially.
Yeah.
Like you said, obviously on the scale that they're working at.
Yeah.
The different technologies also being utilized is the Faro solutions, especially HoloBuilder with Warwick, who basically heads up that department from a modern perspective. Also, basically looks after the whole EMEA region.
Right.
Being available, being on site, helping and assisting Nathan.
Absolutely.
Getting that real digital feel, but also the outlook
technical
of what's
support.
wanting exactly. So it's a multifaceted approach and project. And I think that's the important part. It's having all these different stakeholders communicating, collaborating on an outcome successfully, and being able to make that type of saving on this type of project. It's better in their pocket than wasted.
Absolutely. Yes, yeah, and just thinking of Hyprop and Morgan Wilkins and his team are actually taking the bull by the horns and saying, let's try this.
Absolutely.
Let's do. I mean, that takes foresight in terms of your client now actually wanting to actually try this, not knowing how it's going to play out.
Yes, but Hyprop's always been at the forefront of adapting to changing times. I mean, if we take it back 50 years ago, the computer wasn't invented yet, and now we can't do without it.
Yes.
So if that's not innovation enough,
Exactly.
then the rest of the world's pretty much fast asleep. I think Hyprop are the ones that are asking the question, if the technology exists, how do we push the boundaries? How do we use it? Where can we use it to our benefit and advantage?
Right.
And we've come to that in 2025,
Yeah.
where we can use all of that technology together, not just in its physicalities with the machinery that is manufactured all over the world. I mean, I was having a conversation earlier with Warwick that the technology is so young that ComApp, who is doing the biofuel conversion on the diesel generators, the company I believe is a Belgian company, and they hold the patents to all of this. And their entire team, because we don't have those expertise in the country yet. So as we speak, those generators are busy being converted to the natural gas. And they are doing a training session with the South African branch of ComApp to be able to roll this out, because they know of the other 8 that are coming.
Right.
So that initial capital outlay to have all of those specialists in the country to be able to do this might seem expensive now, but in the long run, if it was only for one project, then yes, okay, the end bill, that's expensive, we learned, okay, cool, we took the knock. But if you're going to be doing it over another 8, then get the training and get the skills in the country. And I think on many levels, we've spoken about it before, taking a step back, just in the BIM industry, I have an ability to teach BIM technicians and make brilliant BIM technicians. And they're all scattered all over the world now. Canada, Costa Rica, I've got guys sitting in Germany and in England that were under me, and I trained them from being a diesel motor technician to a BIM technician, from a car tracker installer to a BIM technician, and then jumping ship to go to Canada or whatever. So Autodesk also ran another study in the background. South Africa produces some of the best BIM technicians you will ever see, point blank. But then we don't have the 100,000 Rand a month for that salary. But Canada does. England does. Germany does. So do I feel sad and bad about losing my staff? Maybe. But perhaps I've added to the industry internationally. And that's a beautiful thing.
Yes.
End of story. That is a beautiful thing. So if Autodesk has got that ability to get us there, then why don't we keep it back at home? So we already know that suffering the consequences of the crime rate, the failing infrastructure, the failing economy in South Africa, I wouldn't say it's failing, it's challenging. All of those are not failing, it's challenging. And some people just can't take the heat, so they jump ship and they think that the grass is better overseas. Okay, each person does what they believe is best for themselves. However, those skills are now starting to return to South Africa. Very much the same way that I did. I left in 2004, went to England, studied as an architect in England, and then brought those skills back in 2012. I was an HVAC technician for a while, physically installing air conditioners, and then BIM started becoming important, and I recognized that it was coming. I saw the wave coming. So I went on the courses. I think that's where I first got introduced with Modena, did the training courses with them,
Right.
and then started pushing for BIM. And then eventually just said, well, this is it. This is the future. And I opened up my little sweatshop. I was my only little sweatshop worker, and the rest is history. And we just went from strength to strength. And then
Nathan, I mean, he's like a forerunner. I mean, where everyone else was hesitant, and I don't know if we're going to do it, and it's too costly, and all that kind of stuff. I mean, this guy on his own is certainly, stands proud in terms of getting BIM out there as part and parcel of
ambassador.
Exactly.
I think what makes him unique, it's also on the building services side and not just on the architectural side, because the architects have been really good at embracing the likes of your Revits and the different parametric tools that are designed for the architectural, engineering, construction industry. But in terms of the building services industry, we've always been laggards.
Yeah.
And I think that's where Nathan has been unique, is that he saw an opportunity, learned, and executed. And since then, that's it. And since then, all industries have actually seen a tremendous growth in utilizing these different technologies. And I think that's where globally, in terms of everyone moving towards a digital environment, working in the cloud, collaborating seamlessly. And it doesn't matter where the project is being executed, if it's in Costa Rica or Canada or Germany, it's homegrown. That's where it is. The technology is here and it's here to stay. And it's now how do we embrace it, utilizing these technologies to push to the next forefront, and start helping each other, because that's what it's about.
It just makes sense to do it.
I know. But I mean, you guys didn't have to adapt your software technology or anything to did it have to be tailored for what Nathan had to do?
Not really. Each company tailors it to their company.
Okay. Because
But
it's
the
got that
software is-
flexibility in order to do.
That's the beautiful part about it.
Yeah.
Is that you can still have your original look and feel and stand as your own, and not to name drop, but let's go with the big boys here. The ACOMs, the ARUPs, the WSPs, they're international and they operate in 28 countries each.
Yeah.
And so when 28 countries and how each office in different countries operate and comes together in a central hub, then surely you've got motivation for moving forward and progressing. And if somebody from another country says, hey, hang on, wait, there's a new tool that, you must see how quickly I can pump drawings out using this.
Yes.
Can we get it to the CEO because we need to roll it across all 28 countries that has got 4,000 employees? Then it makes sense. But for someone like me who's basically a one-man band, or there's only 10 of us, then it becomes extremely difficult. But if you can make that impact, and then using other technologies which also connect the world, the LinkedIns, the Facebooks, the Instagrams, and that is connecting the world just as much as what BIM is connecting the world. And it's all about that communication and connectivity. Teams, big player. big player, and that's Microsoft and their corporation. Then we be over to the infrastructures, and like Michael was saying, it's your knowledge in the industry. So I always advocate when I've got students that you cannot knock any skill that you've learned in life, although it might seem negligible. So I grew up in a house where my father was an electrical engineer. I hate electricity. I cannot explain to you how much I hate it. But a fundamental understanding from junior school already helped me in my business today. And although I'm running the show at that company, it's an understanding of this electrical engineering background that helps me understand this is what a battery does, this is what an inverter does, and this is the grid. How does it all tie together? And then it goes a bit deeper with your DC and your AC and how they need to talk together, harmonics and impedance and all of that stuff. But then I was an HVAC contractor and I physically installed air cons. So I know equally how important it is to keep a lithium battery cool. So we get that involved. I mean, call the mechanical engineer out on his bullshit, or call the mechanical installer out on his bullshit. Simple. Because I've done it.
But your whole team was on BIM, huh?
Yes.
Everybody was on BIM.
Everyone is on BIM.
Okay. Well, that certainly makes it a heck of a lot easier.
There are still 2 engineers that are reluctant and kicking against using BIM.
Okay.
However, I just took the information and did the BIM for them.
Okay.
And then proved to them how important it was.
Yes.
And sorry that you weren't on BIM, but on the next project you will be. Because they can see where they actually slipped the ball, where we were waiting for 3 to 4 weeks for information. And when I finally got the information, within 3 to 4 hours, it was already plugged into BIM.
Right.
And then I showed them, okay, wait, we're busy doing these changes. I did the changes within 4 hours and issued the engineer his own drawings and said, just certify that, I've already done it.
Yeah.
And then they started realizing, hang on, wait, it's not just someone that's windgat, it's someone that knows what he's doing in BIM.
Exactly.
And there's a benefit to it.
100%. Warwick, talk to me about the Holler Builder. Just briefly for the readers, what is Holler Builder and how
does it fit in? Yeah.
How does it fit in and how does it integrate?
So Holler Builder in a nutshell is a tool that allows us to track progress on a construction site. So it makes use of an action camera, typically a 360-degree camera. Takes 2 180-degree photos and the software stitches it together to give us a 360-degree view. We attach those photos to a 2D floor plan and it allows us to virtually walk through a construction site. Why it made sense here is one of the mandates HiProp has issued is they want to create digital twins of their projects. And why not choose a project like this to do it on? Because there's lots of moving parts, it's quite exciting, there's lots of machinery being included and added, removed. So Nathan gave me a call, he said, do we mind just coming through to set up the Holler Builder walkthrough? I said, no problem at all. Talking back to ACC and BIM now, I had no drawings, I had no information. He added me to the project, and within an hour I had all the information I needed. I had all the Revit models, electrical and mechanical. I uploaded that into Holler Builder. I had my 2D floor plans that I could use to create my walkthroughs. I had the 3D Revit models. So I had my design intention. Came to site, started capturing photos, and now I can open it up on my PC and see what the project looked like a month ago. I took photos this morning. I can see the progress between a month ago and today.
Right.
And a stakeholder such as a project manager or the ESCO team at HiProp can now log into that project, virtually walk through it, pick up the phone and say, Nathan, something's not right. Please, can you address it? I've looked at the comparison between the Revit model that you've created and what the site looks like, and there's a disparity. Something's wrong.
Okay. What would that be potentially?
A bundle around the transformer. That's
Oh, what? Sorry, eh?
The
retaining wall.
The retaining wall.
Yeah.
The retaining wall. Okay. Yeah.
So that was never included in the Revit model, for example.
Okay.
But now in the photo, it's there. So I could pick up the phone as a HiProp exec and say, Nathan, why is there a wall in the photo? And it allows a conversation to happen, but I physically haven't exhausted resources to come to site.
Yeah.
Another great example is that transformers, you first coming to site, initially were designed 180 degrees from where it is standing now. But if they did that, the fins would have protruded through the wall.
Yes. And that was the first
And that was
50,000 rand.
part of the clash detection that Nathan used to rotate it 180 and fix it in place.
Yes.
But now if I had the Revit model walkthrough on Holler Builder, I would have picked that up. He said, hey, listen, we need to rotate this. There's a clash. There's an issue here.
Yeah.
So this is a very premature step into Hyprop's journey to digitize all of their construction sites. And I'm hoping with this, they'll see the value in creating digital twins of all of their projects going forward.
Yes.
And that also helps essentially, like one day they want to dispose of their shopping centre. Whoever's going to be purchasing it has got all this information available. I mean, just thinking about that now, I mean, that must add huge amount of valuation though to their property. Whether they want to dispose of it in 2 or 3 years' time, that information is all there.
Look, and also, I don't want to sound doom and gloom, but we have got a lithium bomb sitting here. Something can go wrong, and if it does, what did the site look like?
Yes.
Did the fire engineers install the fire louvers? Are there fire suppression systems in place?
Absolutely.
What paperwork's involved?
Yes.
So we can have everything on paper,
Yes.
but a picture speaks 1,000 words. So
Okay.
if I physically go through my Hollow the project, I can see that the fire suspension system has been installed.
Yes.
This is what it looks like. Here's the associated paperwork backing that installation up.
Absolutely.
I don't need pen and paper. I need a photo.
Yeah.
And that will allow me to then obviously track whatever I need to.
Yeah.
But that's obviously worst case scenario.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Look, I mean,
You have to think of
You have to think worst case scenario.
Yeah, exactly.
that is an engineer's job, but that's what makes our lives exciting to bring this to the forefront. I mean, you take a boat, for instance, it wasn't designed to sink. It was designed for leisure. But when it sinks, that's bad.
Yeah.
People get hurt and die.
It's almost like you can call it like clash detection, whereby you actually before the physical work actually starts, and even while it's in place and it's going on, I mean, it'll identify and resolve these potential clashes along the way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We started the project with an as-built of what is existing, because we started the design with a blank canvas, and then when we had our first. We were invited for our first site walkthrough.
Yes.
We realized, but now hang on, wait, he has existing services and plenty of it, which poses a threat. So we paused on the design, went back, did the as-builts, and then plugged the as-builts into the design intent, and they were already clashes.
Right.
And so before the first hammer was picked up, we did the clash detection and we mitigated, and that was the first 400,000 rand VO that was on its way that we avoided. And then with what Warwick was saying earlier with the transformer rotating, that was another 350,000 rand VO just to rig it and turn it, and then do more demolition work because you can't get it in or get through the openings. That was all pre-planned on purpose to have it the way it is now, and that's totaling just less than $1 million now. I think if you are interested, I can send you the full list. Of
Go for it.
4.8
Yeah,
million.
please.
And I think it talks back to what Michael said, saying software is great, but it's not going to do this for you.
No.
Yeah.
It's a tool that allows the user
Yeah.
to interpret the information, and based on the user's ability, use that interpreted information to make sense on site.
Yes.
So software is great, but it can only be used as effectively as because
whatever
Nathan and his team can decipher the data.
Yes.
Exactly.
I think that's so
As good as
important.
the user is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the software is not going to do it for you.
Yeah.
You need skills that Nathan possesses and Nathan's team to use the software to the best of its ability. I think that's very, very important to note.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So now, where is everything housed? I mean, you talk about a lithium bomb, and I mean, what have we put into place here that the mall doesn't go up?
You will have the fortunate opportunity to go through the plant. It'll take us about 10 minutes to walk through it, and I'll run through the system. It is amazing, Tony. I'm not joking. It's pretty cool. It is at ground level, which then to a certain degree sort of phases into basement. So it's this grey area where it's sometimes it's ground, sometimes it's basement. It's still on one level,
Yes.
but in certain sections of the building that is classified as basement, and
Yes.
in other sections it's classified as ground floor.
Right.
So it is at ground level. Let's just say that.
Yes.
And then the whole plant just runs one after the other through the Eskom incomer where the main substation is, goes over to the generator room, goes over to the battery room,
Right.
and the inverter, and then the transformer.
So the system intelligence, the energy management systems
Yes.
used to orchestrate the different power sources. I mean, that's pretty complex. I mean,
IntelliNeo is direct competition to your Honeywells and your Corel controllers.
Okay.
And
Sorry, what name did you mention there?
Intelli Neo. I'll let you take a photo of the.
Okay.
Of the.
Thank you.
And that is the brain behind it all.
Okay.
That little piece of hardware with fantastic software inside it, like a laptop, will say who is doing what, where the inverters are charging batteries, or batteries discharging to grid, or batteries discharging to the mall, are we consuming or are we reserving, are we kicking in the generators, and when we kick those in, are we doing it on gas or diesel, are we synchronizing first to the grid, or are we banging it straight on, are we going to feed, are we going to feed back to grid, because now, sorry Eskom, you had a good go for 100 years, but now you're paying us. There is that opportunity is still on the cards. And that's the next step. That will be the final step in this project.
Okay.
Is to feed back to Eskom.
Sure.
And
if they want it.
If they want
If they want it.
And
But
that
now, what is the
vital-
fail-safe? I mean, there sounds so many components. There's so much happening here. Something goes wrong,
Yes.
which could happen.
Could happen.
Does the whole system shut down?
Yes.
It does.
Yes.
Okay.
So you've got what we call a thermal runaway. When you have a thermal runaway, it means that there's a point of no return. And before you get to that point, which is your flash over, you've got to monitor it. And if the system's not healthy, you shut it down. It's the end of it, and there's a safe shutdown procedure that the Intelli Neo does.
Okay.
So you don't just drop the battery off and go to grid so that the mall is safe. It's then still going to be charging through solar. So you've got to monitor what the solar is charging into the batteries. You've got to monitor what the generators are doing. And did the generator recognize that you've taken the batteries off and brought the mains on from Eskom? Do they kick on or not? So to mitigate all of that, it is heavily based on your building management system.
Yeah.
And that's what we've got there now. It monitors everything. The battery room, the heartbeat of this project, is very sensitive. The inverter room, natural ventilation, that's what the spec is for and everything. But the battery room is near enough clinical. And you'll see when we get there.
Right.
That is, throughout this project, that was the crux of the whole thing. If everything in that room does not work, then the whole project falls apart.
Right.
And that's where everyone started. Everyone that was involved in the project, the electricians, the electrical engineers, the HVAC technician, the HVAC engineers, the fire technicians, the fire engineers, the architect and the builder, which was the same guy. So we all had to work together on that. And it was insane. The other thing that came through was the fire chief. He demands the type D doors. And I've currently got type B. So the VO's gone through. It was an oversight from the architect apparently.
Okay.
Who's the architect?
So, everything is smart today. We've got smart buildings, we've got smart tech, everything is smart. But the problem is, phones are smart. However, there's always a threat of cyber attacks.
Yes.
How are you offsetting potential bad actors out there who may want to actually disrupt something?
Or different security
So
issues.
there are multi-levels of security that has been put in place.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I won't be able to divulge too much in that.
Sure.
But I will let you know that I'm also a very, very, what's the word I want to use here? Frequent player in the data center industry.
Mm.
I've got 43 data centers behind my name that I've been involved in on various levels and across 4 continents. So having had that data center background and knowing what we can do on the data centers, and not to speak too much about data centers, but the firewalls that they have in place, the breach and securities, the monitoring what happens after the breach and where that information goes to track that, we've got all of that in place already. So what the software is that we're using, unfortunately I can't say.
100%. Totally get it.
The firewall, can't tell you where that is.
But it's there. It's in
physical
place.
It is in place.
It is in place.
And it is completely monitorable through the client and the end users and the relevant professionals that monitor it and will be doing the maintenance on the system for the years to come.
Right.
They monitor that, and they can be sitting in Italy. They can go on holiday to Ireland and still monitor it.
Okay.
They can go to Cape Town and monitor it.
Yeah. And facilities managers, are they privy to any of this?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They are the first.
Okay.
Because the facility then gets handed over to them, and
Yes.
to manage their facility,
Yeah.
surely you need.
I mean, what sort of training does a facilities manager
time.
going to need now for this?
It's all the different disciplines. So some of the fire stuff they are already aware about. Some of the electronics they are already aware of. It's basically the same technology as the rest of their facility.
Okay.
It's now just the addition of the IntelliNeo and how that works. Understanding lithium batteries and why it is got such a high potential of hazard. It's basically what level of security will a petrol station have, because they've got petrol and lots of it.
Yes.
And so every time you're filling in at a full station, you are literally standing on top of a bomb. But we never think of it like that.
No, we don't.
It's the convenience that it brings. I'm getting gas because I'm going to my mate's braai. Simple. Not once does it cross your mind that you're actually standing on top of a bomb.
Yeah.
So again, it comes to simple design and the uses thereof, the intentional use thereof. The man who invented the hammer didn't create a murdering tool. He created a tool to make his life easy. Now he can knock in nails quicker than any other oak. So we don't design these battery systems to explode, but we do know what the real risk is, and that's been mitigated. We have designed for the blast proofing. We've designed around the shutdown procedures and the safe use thereof. The supplier, obviously manufacturing lithium batteries, he understands the potential of lithium more than anyone,
Okay.
because his factory is at risk.
Okay.
And so the
And
batteries...
that lithium battery comes from overseas?
Correct.
Yes.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
The battery supplier, if you want to take that name down, and please do make a mention of them, was Freedom One.
Freedom One.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's WON 1. Freedom One.
Freedom One.
Yeah.
Okay.
Freedom One.
Got it.
And
Right.
they're out in straight on Parkside.
Okay.
So whilst we were doing the designs, there's one or two different options that you have for your casements. And the casements that they do for major BES backups projects, for instance, when they're doing a BES project for Eskom directly, to have backup power for the entire national grid, will be 100 megs or 200 megawatts at a time, which is replacing a small power station.
Yeah.
And when they're doing that, it's containerized and it's out in the open, because 200 meg explosion, then you'll take out a city.
Yeah.
There will be nothing left.
Yeah.
So that's how they mitigate that problem. Where only 5 megawatts, it can do some damage, but potentially just to the infrastructure that it's housed in.
In the area.
Correct.
I'm with you.
So,
Okay.
having said that, water is lithium's worst enemy. When lithium ignites, it's got to run away. It creates its own oxygen. The chemical reaction creates its own oxygen, so you cannot remove the oxygen from the trifactor of a fire. The heat, the chemical reaction generates its own heat and its own oxygen. And guess what? You've already got the fuel. So to extinguish lithium, you just need to introduce one hell of a lot of cooling. And that's the new technology.
Which you've installed.
Which we've installed.
Okay. We chatted about it in the park, in the car park earlier. Local professionals throughout this entire project.
Absolutely.
100%.
One international professional.
Okay.
That is it.
Oh, well, that's fantastic. Yes. Okay. No, that's good to hear.
All local. So hopefully South Africa is taking South Africa and putting South Africa on the
So
market
we can
again.
be exceptionally proud of what we're producing in this
Absolutely.
country. And I hear it every day from my magazine. Honestly, it gladdens the heart. It really does. Tell me, are you privy to be able to tell us what this cost?
I believe that the benchmark was just short of 200 million, but I can get a final figure for you.
Okay.
Lee, if you don't mind getting that figure, because you've got Wally's contact details now. I don't want to jump ship and go that way.
Okay.
So, and he is anyways waiting for your contact, because he's got footage to share and he wants
good.
your
I
footage
have
and
sent
stuff. You have touched
his
base.
PA's responded.
Yes, Audrey.
Mm.
Audrey Niebuhr.
Okay.
Yeah.
So return on investment is quite a lengthy period of time. If
It
those are the
was
figures.
7 years.
Okay.
And then Eskom put the prices up by 18.7%, so we're currently estimating it at 4 years and 8 months. That's it.
That's it.
So,
That is-
and I believe that they've got another increase in August, which will see us estimating the last portion of what has already been in cost saving
Yes.
to be 3 years and 2 months. So keep going.
Yeah,
Eskom.
100%.
If you
that's
double
good.
your price, then
Yeah.
the payback is 12 months.
Right.
So
Okay.
that's where it's going.
Yes. Okay.
It's
what-
insane.
No, it's ridiculous. Absolutely. Just to wrap up now, unless there's anything in particular, I found this the most fascinating interview, quite frankly, to be honest. Thank you, Lee. Thank you, guys. On the Modena side, on the BIM side, what would you like to add just to wrap up there?
No, I think just basically we've covered pretty much basis in the sense. I think the Hollow Builder thing has been actually the more important part in terms of what Modena's offering has been, in terms of what Warwick does.
Yeah.
And the scalability of where the actual benefits are from a project point of view. You know, where Nathan doesn't always need to be on site, where you can basically see everything happening without being there. And I think that's one of the great tools about Hollow Builder is giving all the relevant stakeholders access to live information. Yes, and with a bit of a delay in terms of time, but it's the time saving and costs, the travel, everything. Nathan can execute his project accordingly from a guy making a decision sitting in Cape Town, Turkey, wherever it actually is, who can actually monitor accordingly to what needs to be done. And I think that's where the power of the different technologies that Nathan and the team have been using. There's a vast variety of technologies, but it's not specific.
Can go on for 4 hours.
100%. It's not one tool that's been used. It's multifaceted, and that's what makes it exciting.
But I think also it translates to facilities managers. So your FMs now have got your digital twin. They understand what's been procured, when it was procured, when it was installed, who installed it.
Plugs into the asset
What's
register.
what's the life cycle of said project?
When's the maintenance planning?
Use 100% Hollow Builder. I can upload videos onto a specific valve that allows the FM to open up that video and look at the maintenance on how do I open up this valve, how do I close it.
Predictive maintenance and all that
Exactly.
stuff. Yeah, which
Power goes
is
down.
critical now.
The power goes down, I can upload a video onto a DB and say push this up instead of that.
Yeah.
You know, it's completely customizable. But yeah, I think Hollow Builder in line with the Revit model, pushing that over to FM, if they make use of it as much as they can, it's
amazing.
It's
Yeah,
really going to assist them in the future.
That would be great. But yeah, that is where the future is going. I think that Hatfield, Pretoria, has already got a digital twin of the city.
Yes,
The
they
cameras.
have.
Yeah.
They have. Yeah, we
And
did something on it. I think it's
100%.
Yeah.
I read that article and it was amazing. And to think that if we can get that set up for each city, do you not think that the infrastructure would run a lot easier? You'd be able to control your stormwater and stuff like that easier. And then if you just, from a digital twin of the whole city, if you just bring it back to that one building, and you've just got your asset register, before it becomes end of life, and that could be just a window or a door, where manufacturers are constantly updating their catalogs. Well, this is out of fashion. We're not making those doors anymore. And the day that your door breaks, you can already monitor and say, okay, well, this is end of life. And if it was in your asset register already, that door number 3 will be end of life by the year 2036. If you open up that model and say, okay, well, this door is damaged now to an extent where it's replacing, it will flag it and say, well, it's not going to be manufactured anymore. You've got to go look for something likewise on the market.
Okay.
Aircons, it depends on your system. You either got a 10-year life, you've got a 25-year life. And if that's the case, wouldn't it be nice to know that now in the digital twin that we hand over to the facilities manager?
Right.
And it just makes life easier.
Yeah.
It streamlines his process because he doesn't have to go and open up a filing cabinet. No, so okay, it's file number 28. Yes, okay, it's on page 300. Oh, it's not this one. Or the pages went missing.
I think it's important to note that this is not anything extra that one needs to purchase or procure.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's all readily
It's
available.
there really.
It's
Okay.
just about showing the teams and showing the guys that, hey, this is available.
Yes.
But then also allowing industry to allow the consumption of that data.
Yes.
Because we can push as much as we want to, but if industry pushes back,
Yeah.
there's very little we can do.
Yes.
So the fact that we have the Nathans and the York Bros and the facilities management team here allowing that consumption of data, it's
Yeah.
you know, we're talking about the forefront of innovation when it comes to solar and backup power, but I think we're overseeing the opportunity that we've got as a construction industry on
Yes.
how we're using the data in a digital sense on this project. I think that's just as exciting as the actual physical work that's being delivered here.
Yeah.
And having a client such as iPod
Yeah.
that is allowing
Mm.
us
Absolutely.
that ability, and they're at least willing to hear us out and say,
Yes.
okay, well, we see where the benefits
Yeah.
are. You've sold us the car.
100%.
Can we get the keys?
Yeah.
Let's start this thing.
Yeah.
And that's what's nice, because it's not always every client that is, no, just do it in AutoCAD. Give me a 2D drawing so that I can build it. Don't worry about my facilities manager. I'll manage it.
Yes. Yeah.
And often that happens.
I mean, we see where it's come from 10 years ago, 15, 20 years ago, where we're going to be in another 10 years. The technologies that's coming out, what boundaries are we
I love
pushing
that.
there? It's
That's
exciting.
exciting.
It's
Very
exciting.
Yeah. I feel for the facilities managers. They're not just doing cleaning and
Conference
monitoring.
keys. Yeah.
It's
complex.
It's
A lot of the stuff
so
that
complex.
No,
now,
but they
man.
are. It's just the tools that we have available makes the
Simpler.
cleaning a lot easier to
Yeah.
forecast.
Exactly.
So I always have this analogy, and Mike laughs when I use it. We are firefighters. The mere fact that we have to fight a fire doesn't change. Having the software and having access to the data allows us to plan on the size of the water tank we need to take to the project.
That's it.
Exactly.
I think it's
That's
the easiest way to explain what we do in the
Yeah.
industry.
Absolutely.
The fires will never stop.
No.
Yes.
It just gives us the ability to plan ahead, take enough water to the scene so we can put the fire out effectively.
That's it. I like that.
Yeah.
I do like that.
That's super. Guys, thank you.
Tony,
Nathan,
thank you.
Thank you, man.
Thanks,
Jeez.
guys.